Hello, everybody. Welcome to tonight's webinar, The Funny Farm, The Speaker's X Factor. And I am AJ Poyer from Success Coach Technologies, also known as your Seminar Yoda. And I've got a great friend I've known here for a long time, Jase Souder here. And tonight is a webinar that is going to change everything about your speaking and selling career. Tonight is all about selling with humor. How, as you can see on the screen, about how to be funny from stage or during your sales process on purpose, okay? Not just by accident, but on purpose. As a speaker trainer and sales trainer, I have seen, I knew about being humorous is one of the great ways to increase your sales because it helps you, gain rapport and stuff. And I sought out how to be funny in a lot of different ways with a lot of professionals, comedians, even saw some, how to be funny for speaker programs. And yet a lot of those programs were all about being funny for funny's sake. And yet what you're going to learn today is something really different. It's all about how to sell with humor. In other words, it's humorous points and humorous ways to get people into action and take new things. So it's not just funny for funny's sake. It's about how to get people into action and how to make more money with sales. By show of hands, who wants to make more money? Okay, you should all be raising your hand. Jason is already raising his hand. So anyways, Jason and I have been great friends for a long time. He's just an awesome guy. He's a blast to hang out with, and yet humor was something that he studied, and I have yet to see a program and a philosophy and process that's any better than what Jase presents to speakers. As a personal development person and a speaker himself and a speaker trainer himself, he has been featured in actually 8 books. You co-authored in 4 of the books with people like Deepak Chopra, Anthony Robbins, Mark Victor Hansen, and others. And then you've written 4 of your own programs, as well as he was even featured in the movie Pass It On. And so he'll tell you a lot more about that. But this is, a movie where he got to share the silver screen. How many of you get the chance to say that with people like Brian Tracy, John Azarov, Michael Beckwith, Les Brown, Evander Holyfield, a lot of great people. And so, anyways, I won't keep rambling because you'll find out when you're with Jase, rambling can easily happen because we're having a good time. And so we're going to learn about how to have a good time with your audience so that you can make more money. I've got my pen, I've got my paper, I'm ready to take some notes. And so make sure you're ready to take some notes and clear your environment, close the door, get rid of any distractions that you need, because you're going to get a lot out of this content rich webinar tonight. So welcome. You've been sitting there so patiently. Thank you very much, Jase. Welcome, Jase. Welcome to tonight's webinar, and it's all about you. Well, actually, it's all about our audience.
Yeah, it's all about them. AJ, thanks. It is always a delight to be able to have the chance to just work with you and hang out with you. It's and you're looking mighty dapper today. I must say, you're looking really good over there. So, just so you know at home, AJ and I love to goof around and have fun. So we'll keep the content coming. And for those of you at home, I was thinking about how can I make this as clear as possible what tonight is about. So I thought I'd summarize it this way. So this is people who say no. This is what an audience can look like when you're not doing a good job. And this is people who say yes, and here's how your audience can look like when you're a dynamic speaker, when you've learned this holy grail of speaking. So quick pop quiz at home. Would you rather be in group A or in group B? Okay, everybody who said group B, stay tuned because this is for you. If you want to be in group A, well, maybe there's another webinar for you. Which way is group B? This way or this way?
Other way.
This is group B?
No, other way.
This way?
Yep.
So if you want to be in group B over here, you're on the right call. And I'm actually really happy to be with you. Here's what you're going to discover during our time today: how to create humor, how to be funny. And AJ said something that's so critical. We're not going to be funny for funny's sake. Everything you do as a speaker, and when I say speaker, I want to talk about one-to-many speaking, like from stage. I also mean when you're doing a one-on-one sales presentation, you're a speaker, you're just doing a one-to-one or one-to-many sales presentation. Everything has to have an intention. So if you're going to be funny, there's got to be an intention behind it. That intention could be to bond yourself to the audience. It could be to add a little levity. It could be to gain control of the room. It could be to establish more rapport, so they'll say yes. It could be to deliver a great experience, so they want to be around you more. And the way they get to be around you more is they buy more seminars, or they invest with you. They buy your product or service. So we're talking about how to be funny, how to create humor, the 5 stages for humor, how to increase your sales. And this one I'm really passionate about. The one mistake that will kill your sales and credibility. I have seen far too many good speakers who really care about their audience kill their credibility because they didn't know how to avoid this one thing. And so I'm excited to share that with you and much, much more.
Yeah, you know, one reason why I was really happy to bring you to my audience is because I see a lot of good speakers out there, and I ask myself, you know, what's the difference between the good speakers and the great speakers? And you know, you can do a lot of speaker training that will teach you how to be good, and yet the great ones are the ones who know how to entertain at the same time. I've seen a lot of speaker trainers recently even talk about the importance of how to be that they need to be more entertaining, and yet they're not teaching how to be more entertaining, or there's no strategy to it, and so you have to break it down. And you know, I always figured if you can make the unfunny person funny, well then, you know, there's a master trainer. And so what, you know, because I have actually taught, you know, been in class with you teaching this stuff and doing workshops with people and being funnier, I have really seen that being funny is a serious business, right? Because it really is about money. And so really glad, you know, so everyone here, you know, you know, we're going to have some fun, and yet this is serious business about being funny. Okay, so excellent.
Yeah.
So
you know, that's a great point, AJ. You can't do laugh a minute when you're creating comedy. It takes some energy. It takes some time. You said something critical though, to take the unfunny to the funny. Some people think you're born with it or not. I disagree. I believe anybody can learn how to be funny. So if you're on this and you're already funny, great. Let's get some really powerful, impactful stories together. If you're not so funny, there's hope. Just hang in there. There's hope for you.
Excellent. So tell us more about how we can transform funny into money.
Well, people make buying decisions based on emotion, emotion. So when you get them emoting, they're moving, they're being emotional. So we got to get them emoting. When you get them laughing, they're emoting, and they'll buy more. Plus, you keep their attention, you keep them in the room. Have you ever seen a speaker who's just dull and flat, and they might have great info, but it's so hard to listen?
Yes.
If your information is this good, but someone else has information this good, but their delivery is this good, they'll get the gig. Even if their information isn't as good as yours, if their delivery is better, they'll get the gig. So what we need to do is have your great information combined with the ability to pique people, take them high to laugh, low to get sad, high to laugh, low to buy in. When you be able to deliver this roller coaster, your emotion, your value goes up here. You get the gig in the future. You get the sale. You get to be invited back. So it's really, really critical. Funny,
so I've seen speakers who are, you know, just so-so. They're good. Some of them even bad. At least their content, because I've been in the business a long time, I've seen that their content really doesn't have much. However, they're incredibly entertaining, and they're just like killing it out there. And then I've seen some other people who are just like geniuses. Oh my gosh, their content is so good, but because you know they're so smart, maybe they haven't spent as much time being entertaining. And it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe everybody bought that person's program and not that person's program, because that's the one who really can make the big difference. And so if you really believe in your content, or well, you know, even if you just want to have that competitive edge, funny is the way to go. Entertaining and funny. And just to cut, hopefully I'm not stepping on your toes here a little bit. I want to make a kind of a reference here. We're not just always talking about ha 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 funny. We're talking about more of like entertaining and humor points. There'll be times where it's going to be like roll on the floor laughing, and other times it might just be kind of like a soft giggle, and that is what keeps a person engaged. Wouldn't you agree, Jase?
100%. And like I was saying earlier, you know, it's harder to learn comedy than it is drama. When you can learn how to be funny, you can also learn how to crash people. And so as long as you can keep giving people an emotional experience to keep them hooked, to keep them involved.
Yeah. Now, everything that Jase is about to teach you is real life experience. This from the School of Hard Knocks. He studied it, he adapted it, and he applied it. He taught and has taught others it. So it's not just a bunch of funny theory. It is real world application. And you've been in the business a good over 10 years now.
Yeah.
About 10 years. Excellent.
Yeah, you want to know something amazing?
What?
10 years ago today, I took my first personal development seminar. And because of that seminar, I got to meet AJ 4 months later. And we've been friends almost 10 years now.
Wow, that's amazing. So just to, for the audience who haven't met you and may not know you yet, and they're going to, I'm sure this is going to be a start of a great relationship between you and many speakers. Can you give us a little bit of background on yourself?
Yeah, just last night, someone asked me why I got into speaking and seminars, and my frank answer was because my life sucked. And my life was just miserable. And I went to a personal development seminar. It's like I got my dreams back, and I started going to every seminar I could. If you know, I had a 6-month period where I made $2,000. Anybody think that's a lot of money? No hands went up. Okay, you passed. So I went from that to making $96,000 in an hour and a half, and through using the kind of information I want to share today. And what I have a seminar company called Life Tigers, and I taught personal development seminars, and I got to pass on what I've learned and help a lot of people. And that's my passion. I love to help people get their message out. And so what I'm doing now is I'm empowering other speakers who have something to say, whether it's personal development, real estate investing, stocks, health, whatever it is. I'm helping them get their message out. And to do that, there's some critical factors. You've got to be engaging and entertaining on stage. You've got to be able to deliver your message, and you've got to be able to change people consciously and subconsciously. So we got to work in all of those areas. And I'm really, I have been blessed. AJ mentioned I was in the movie Pass It On, and that was just really great. The people I got to hang out with was amazing. And Greg Reed, he wrote 3 Feet from Gold, which is a book that kind of was an add-on to Think and Grow Rich. A lot of people are getting to know Greg. He's a buddy of mine. He invited me to be in the movie, and because I knew how to deliver, I knew how to connect with the camera and the audience, because I knew how to let my, really it's about emotions, right? I knew how to speak in such a way that the audience could feel my communication. I was chosen to be in the movie, and I had a couple clips in the movie, and that was just amazing for my career, and the doors that opened were just
so let me ask the audience this question. What if you could develop the skill sets to craft your message and deliver the message in a way that got the attention of some really big names, that they said, hey, we want you to join us? How many of you would love to be able to be called upon by other experts just because your message and your delivery of that message was crafted so well? It would be great, wouldn't it? Yeah. And not only did it lead you to movies, also led you to do some books as well, right?
Yep. Before I show that, let me give everybody, write this down. One stage, crush it. Write down one stage, crush it. This is a theory I have, and this is what happened in my career. Preparation plus opportunity equals success. I've seen far too many people who are really good, but they're not prepared. It's what you do in your downtime that will determine the success of your uptime. So when I got on my first big stage to sell my own seminars, I was prepared, I delivered excellently, and what will happen for you, when you get that one big opportunity to capitalize, people will come out of the woodwork to invite you to speak on their stages. So when I got off stage, not only did I make a lot of money selling my seminars, I had other people from around the country, like TJ comes up to me, he's from Portland, and says, hey, come speak at my seminar. And then I have people referring me to other speakers. So my business went from here to here almost overnight because I did really well and I took advantage of that. So I call that the one stage crush it. Be prepared, be ready, be dynamic, and boom, the doors will open.
It made me think of a speaker friend that we both know really well. And I got on the plane, and he, just so happened, I didn't even know he was on the same plane, and I was sitting across from him, and I saw him just kind of like working on one line, crafting one line. It's like so seriously. It's like, my gosh, you're one of the best speakers out there, and for him to just like be so serious to work on his intonation or his delivery of one line again and again showed me just how serious he was. And so when you take your business, that seriously, when you can, really do 100% every possible thing you can to go out there and do that one stage where you can just crush it like that, then everything explodes. So you should be all striving for that next big crush it stage.
Okay, so let me go on with my introduction and share with you one of the times that I didn't take advantage of a big opportunity. So have you ever heard of the show Good Morning America?
Yes.
Well, I wasn't on that show, but I was on a show called The Daily Buzz.
That was one of your humor points, right?
What's that?
That was one of your humor points, right?
Yeah, that was a humor point. That's one of the things that I say when I'm speaking. So here's how it works when you're able to deliver like that. When I say, have you ever heard of Good Morning America, in the audience's mind, when I'm doing my introduction, they think, holy cow, this guy's been on Good Morning America. So the emotion created in them is like, wow. And then when I come and say, well, I wasn't on that, but I was on the Daily Buzz, they laugh. So there's laughter. We're on the same side. I'm a little bit self-effacing. But what happens subconsciously, they've linked Good Morning America to me. Does that make sense?
Kind of like how many of you have heard of Good Morning America? Well, I wasn't on that show, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn.
Exactly. So, and the Daily Buzz is nothing to sneeze at. It's syndicated to hundreds of radio, TV stations in America. It's a big deal to be on that show. And so here's the thing I didn't take advantage, and I want you all to write this word down. It's spelled Y-E-S, and start to practice being a yes. I wasn't practicing this at the time, and on the plus side, I delivered so well that the executive producer of the Daily Buzz came over and said, hey, you're really good on camera. How about you come in once a week and answer viewer mail? And I didn't say yes. AJ, I could have been on nationwide TV once a week answering viewer mail and selling personal development seminars. So,
well, once again, I wanted to ask the audience, like, how many of you would love to develop your crafting and delivering skills so much that opportunities like that can arise? So we're not just talking about, increasing your sales ratios. We're also talking about creating opportunity with more JVs, more stages, and even in the media. So that's awesome.
Exactly. And in a little bit, we're going to talk about the challenges speakers face today. But one of the things you've got to position yourself as a speaker or a salesperson is the go-to expert. You want to write that down, the go-to expert. It's not enough to just have the good solution. You have to position as the person that they want to seek out. And the way you're going to do that is through PR, media, video, radio, blogging. You've got to become a personality within your niche. Like AJ's the Seminar Yoda. You've got to begin to establish your personality within the niche. So here's some other things I did to help establish myself. I've been in 4 books, Wake Up, Live the Life You Love. It's hard to see this one over here that says, the one with yellow and blue, but it says Wayne Dyer, Deepak Chopra, Mark Victor Hansen. And when I'm introducing myself, I'll say, who's heard of Wayne Dyer? Hands go up. Deepak Chopra, hands go up. Mark Victor Hansen, hands go up. And then I'll point at the cover of the book, and 2 names down is my name, and I'll say, there's me, so I'm close to greatness. And the audience usually laughs. But if I'm spatially on the cover of that book close to these big famous names, in the audience's mind, I'm spatially close to those speakers in my standing as a speaker.
Awesome.
So I've been into some more stuff. I wrote a whole series on one-on-one sales as well as speaking. I worked for one of the most famous speakers that's out there right now, and I kept watching him, and I wanted to be a speaker, so I codified what he did. I put it all into a system, and I was doing one-on-one sales at the time, so I created this package. It's really perfect. It's for anyone who wants to speak one-to-many or one-on-one. It teaches them everything they need to know on conscious and subconscious influence. So there's 4 workbooks I wrote that go with that, and it's just been fun. So here's the challenges. Here's the stuff. And this is what I want to get into because I really want to talk about the people watching right now. A lot of people don't think they're funny, and so they don't even try, and then they wind up being unfunny. This is what I'm really passionate about, though. Traditional sales and marketing is dead. If you think you're just going to get on stage and sell, or you're just going to run an advertisement and make all the money you want, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, so don't kill me, kill the messenger. Wait, I'm not pointing at you, am I?
That's the mess. That's
Don't kill
right.
the messenger. Not AJ. Love AJ. Kill the messenger. Um, don't kill the messenger. The fact is, the old ways of advertising are over. If you are just running in one media, if you don't have the ability to engage people in relationships, your money is just going to be down the drain. It's kind of like it says, buyers are burnt out on the dog and pony show. You know, buyers are really skeptical, and they'll still go to these seminars, but they're so skeptical. Does the speaker mean it? Will they follow through? Am I just going to get sold another story with nothing behind it? That they're really holding on tighter to their credit cards and their checkbooks. So instead of going for the sale, what I want to encourage you to do is first focus on the relationship. Focus on building a bond between you and the audience member. You know, the sale may or may not come in this first moment. It might come later, but when you can deliver excellently and you apply some of the stuff I'm going to teach you today, you'll have the opportunity to create the sale later. Is this making sense, AJ?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, one of the things that you said, and it's the first one there that I really relate to. You know, a lot of people don't think that they are funny. And quite honestly, I really don't think I am, naturally funny with things. However, that's one side of me kind of feels that way, but there's another part of me through my experience knows that I can be funny. It's just I'm not naturally funny. In other words, when I've learned to craft my speeches with you. Every time I speak, I say things every now and then, and all of a sudden I accidentally get a laugh, and then I craft it. I write it, and then I say it again, and they don't laugh, and I realize, okay, I said it funny the first time, didn't say it funny the second time. What do I need to do? And so I've learned a lot about being funny from you as well. And so, just to kind of give the encouragement to all those out there who says, okay, please tell me how to be more dynamic on stage. This is really going to help you out a ton. So, excellent.
That's a great point. Let me dispel one of the myths. One of the biggest myths about being funny as a speaker or in one-on-one sales is that it's being light on your feet and funny. That's not it. Being funny as a speaker takes work and investment of time, energy, and money. And what I mean by that is, you remember Felix the cat from those old cartoons? He had this bag. Well, depending on how old our audience is right now, they're going to remember this or not. But Felix the cat, he had this bag of tricks, and he could reach in the bag of tricks and pull out whatever he needed to get out of the situation he's in. Well, speakers, what we need to do is put the time and the energy in to create our comedy. Now, we may say jokes, but what we really mean is humor points. You want to write this one down, humor points. You're not going to be telling jokes on stage, but what you can do is repurpose jokes and make them into humor points. Or what you can do is you can repurpose stories and things that have happened in your life and make them into humor points. So the idea is you've got this big bag of tricks, and when the appropriate moment comes up, you can pull the right humor point out of your bag of tricks. So the best speakers in the world have practiced and told the same humor points over and over and over, and that's what you've got to do.
Yeah, excellent. And so, we've done this together at the Funny Farm, which is a workshop that Jase does, and we're going to be telling more about how you can spend some one-on-one time with Jase in a small group of people and really craft certain messages together. And yet, today we're going to go ahead and just give you a lot of the principles right off the bat so that you can start applying it right away. And so, so later on we'll tell you about the live workshop, the Funny Farm. And yet, tell us specifically, what kind of things as a speaker do we need to keep in mind?
All right, so here's some of the rules. First thing, you got to be confident, loosen up, got to have the most fun in the room.
So it starts off with a mindset, right? Like everything, right?
Mind and heart. Yeah, totally. Mind and heart. If your level of self-expression is like this big, the audience only has this much space in which they can react. However, if your level of expression goes this big, then the audience has this much space, and if you get out here, a big space. So it's kind of like if you've seen those speakers who talk like this, the audience starts to sit like this and they get bored. There's a book called Emotional Intelligence, and what they talk about is the emotional state a speaker is through the receiver of information will subconsciously match the body language of the speaker so they can adopt the emotional state of the speaker. So in other words, whatever emotional state is going on for you as a speaker, it will be magnified in your audience. So if you're not having fun and playful, then your audience will go to whatever negative state you may be in. So we've got to get your heart right. We've got to anchor positive emotions. We've got to get you chugging on all cylinders and feeling great so your audience will feel great.
And again, if you really are like that person where you're just kind of this much emotional range, and you think, oh, well, what can I do about that? I can't change who I am. One of the things I've seen you work with other speakers is kind of like almost turning them into like a Stephen Wright type of character, where they're delivering very kind of straight there, but the humor intelligently is very wide, and it's just like hilarious, even though they deliver it very dry. So even if you are that kind of dry person, that's why this is so important. So therefore, we don't change who you are, but we can give you that dynamic. So
yeah, and being funny is not about funny outfits. It's not about being goofy. It's not about being weird. It's about being intentionally humorous in a way that allows you to make the sale, whether seminar settings, one-on-one sales, in a way that allows you to make your point, to get control of the room, to be more effective as a speaker. We're not talking about demeaning yourself or the audience, and that's really critical.
Cool.
So here's some more stuff. Be the straight man. The joke is always on you. What I mean by that is you can tease the audience and you can have some fun with the audience, but you want to let the audience feel great. You want to let them come to the punchline, and quite often you're going to let the punchline be on you, and that's okay, because self-effacing humor is so bonding that it is incredibly.
One of the lines I've been using a lot lately that I learned from someone else is, chances are I'm going to tease you and you're going to tease me right back, and together we're going to have a lot of fun. And just kind of setting that stage has worked really well.
Fantastic. Yeah, and you can tease, but don't demean anybody.
Yeah.
Demeaning it's not your job. Your job as a speaker to build people up. So why would you want to demean someone? That doesn't build anybody up. So let's talk about what level you're going to go to as a speaker. Keep it PG is my recommendation. So why not go R? You might think, well, I could go R. I could think about who my audience is, and this audience can handle rated R. Well, then I'm going to say, what's your desired outcome? What is it you want to accomplish through your speaking? And chances are you want to leverage one stage into 10 stages. But if you get on that one stage and you go rated R, and there's someone in your audience, like I mentioned, TJ invited me to speak at his seminar. If I had gone rated R, TJ wouldn't necessarily have said, well, he went rated R. Of course he can go PG. TJ probably would have said, oh, that guy's rated R. He's out. So when I'm speaking not just for that stage, but for all the stages it can open up. So I'm thinking going rated G or PG is much smarter. I think what serves you as a speaker, be playful. Don't push the envelope and go just to get jokes. Your outcome is not to get laughs. Your outcome is to be intentional, and humor is a tool of intentionality.
Very well put. One of the things, what does this mean as a speaker? And I'm thinking from a speaker mind. What this means is, the off-colored jokes, quite frankly, swearing on stage. Sometimes, the comedians, they'll swear and they'll cuss for that humor point, but they're trying to get those humors. And here, remember, your business is tied to this. So you don't want to, our recommendation is not go that direction.
Right on. Yeah, right on. So let's talk about your audience. What I'm about to tell you could change your speaking forever. I know there's someone listening to this right now that what I'm about to tell you will be a paradigm shift, will change you forever. Are you ready? Your audience wants to love you. They want to love you. One of my mentors, Denise, said this to me recently. She said that she wakes up and thinks, today I'm going to be the answer for someone. And I said, what are you talking about? She said, I believe that every day people wake up and they pray that they'll find the answer to something they're dealing with. Every day someone wakes up and says, I hope there's someone that can help me make the money I need to make. I pray today is the day I meet that person I'm going to fall in love with. I pray today is the day I meet that person that helps me fix my marriage. I pray today is the day that someone helps me with my kids. I pray today is the day someone turns around my real estate investing business.
You mean no one goes to a seminar, sits in the audience and says, boy, I hope this speaker sucks. No one
They
does.
might put that air on, but beneath that protective exterior, they're praying for you to be great. Your
Yeah,
audience
yeah.
wants you to be
Otherwise, why would
awesome.
they be there, right? Why would they waste their time? They want to
Yeah,
love you. They
exactly.
may expect one thing, but what the but they really want the other. That's really great. That's a good paradigm shift, Jason. I like that.
Yeah. One of the best stories I ever heard, Amanda Rose saw me my first time I spoke. They came to my seminar. And what I did was I actually opened up the crowd on day one. I opened up day two, and then I sold on day three. So I did like a half hour, and then an hour and a half. By the way, great tip for you right there. Write that one down. Speak before you sell. What I mean is, set up a time where you can come into the seminar and speak and just deliver value without any sale. And if you do that, your audience will just totally fall in love with you. So we're friends now, and I'm friends with a lot of the people that came through my seminars back in 8 years ago. I'm still friends with. Like, I'm looking for relationships. If you're looking to get in business with someone who wants a long-term relationship, AJ and I are the people to be with, because we love you and we want to support you long-term, not just a one and done. But anyway, so here's what she said to me that was so great. She said that by the time I got on stage day three, she looked at her husband and they said to each other, whatever he's selling, we're buying because we love who he is. And I
How many
think
of you
that's
want to
where
hear that from your audience? Whatever you're selling, they're buying.
yeah, because they don't buy your product, they buy you, right? So they fell in love with me, and boy, what a great honor that was. Your audience wants to love you. So here, how about we do this? Respect your audience, avoid making fun of them. Now, you could make fun of characters, and we'll talk about characters in a little bit. You could make fun of aspects of the audience that you want to go away. Not members of the audience, aspects of the audience. But don't make fun of the audience as a rule. Really respect them. Here's a quick tip. If your audience is being difficult, turn up your love. If your audience is being a challenge for you, turn up your love for your audience, and you'll do way, way, way better. And what you can do with humor, you excite their imagination, you excite the subconscious. Blame meanness on outside sources. Let me explain what I mean by this.
Yeah.
AJ's over here. You're looking
Correct.
good. So I'm going to do what's called spatially anchor. I'm going to say, let's pretend I was delivering a marriage seminar and I had a statistic and I had a report in my hand that talked about statistics in marriage. Now, I could do the ineffective thing and get on stage and say, listen, I'm telling you, if you don't change your marriage, you're going to get divorced. But now I'm the bearer of bad news. Instead, what I could do is say, I have in my hands a report. And this report says, if you don't make these three changes, there's a 67% chance you can get divorced. Look, don't kill me. I'm sorry to report this information to you. And then I would spatially put this away from me, and I would set it down somewhere so it's far away from me. So what I've done is I blamed the bad news on something other than me. I found a credible third party that I could blame the bad news on. So if the audience gets mad at anything, they don't get mad at me, they get mad at the report.
People, this is what I'm talking about. This is why I love Jase. It isn't just, points for point's sakes. He's showing how to do it for delivery as well as making that sales. That's what I really love about what you teach.
Thank you. And the reason I keep talking about sales is, you guys, you're not going to change anyone's life in an hour presentation. But if they go to your seminar or they buy your product or they get in long-term community with you, that's when you can change their life. AJ just said it beautifully. Do you want to say it again, how you put it?
Which part?
He said a seminar doesn't change a life, community changes a life.
Yeah, that's one of the things I've said.
We'll share with you how to form that community because it is so critical. So what else do we need to do? Do not repeat jokes with the same audience. I learned this one when I was a little kid. First time I was ever funny, my mom and grandma were having a glass of wine. And I don't remember what I said or what joke I made, but they lost it. They're laughing hysterically. And I was like, wow, I got attention. That was great. So I repeated the joke, and my mom and grandma both went, don't repeat jokes. So don't repeat jokes. Doesn't work. All right, so you're about to go on stage. Now, I did talk about keep it PG, so hopefully this stays PG. What I want you to do is get your courage up. You're about to go on stage. You got to just get it ready. And then you got to do what it takes to go on stage. Maybe we should edit that one out. So there's 5 stages of humor in your presentation. First opening and first impression, what they see. I'm going to go through these quick, and then I'll go into each one in a little more detail.
Great.
Persona, sets up what to expect. Characters, say what you want. Middle, warm it up. And then the end, leave them wanting more. So let's talk about opening and first impression.
Now just let me get clarity. These are, like within your presentation, these are the specific times where humor really works well. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and these are specific times in your presentation that you have to know what's going on in the audience's mind so that you can be effective on stage.
Okay, perfect.
So for instance, in this first one, 70% of our communication is nonverbal. So if 70% of the communication is nonverbal, when you hit the stage, 70% of their brain is engaged in looking at you and taking you in physically. So when you first hit the stage, give the audience a chance to get to know you by processing their visual stimulation. If you start talking right away, they don't even hear you half the time. You've got to really let them clue into what they're seeing. So here's a critical thing. If there's something about you that they could object to, you've got to bring it up because they'll be thinking about it until you do. And here's where tons of sales are lost. I call this overcoming objections or overcoming first-second objections. Here's what that means. I look pretty young. I'm already 40-something, and I'll be turning 42 next month. So when I was on stage selling personal development, I was in my 30s, and I looked like I was 18 to 22. And people would have an objection to learning personal development from someone who looked so young. They thought I was so young, like what could I ever teach them? So what I would do is I'd get on stage, and early on I would say, okay guys, I know I look really young. I'm actually in my mid-30s. Who here can learn from someone who looks really young? Who here would like to learn how to look really young? And then I would take that negative, turn it into a positive, and get the audience on my side. If I hadn't have addressed it, and I didn't know how to address that for a long time, and it cost me sales. So you've got to bring up the obvious about you. One of the things we do at the Funny Farm is we actually give people a chance to find out what other people are processing about them and give them ways to overcome it. Can I keep going?
I got to ask you to share a story. Adriana, can you...
Okay. I love Adriana. She's so great. She's really petite, though, and she had a challenge.
Probably like 4'10" or something like that. She's probably like 4'10", 100 pounds or less.
very slender, petite woman. And she didn't have a huge... She had this really loving, strong energy, but not like a giant energy. Mm-hmm. So she had a challenge. She would get on stage, and the audience wouldn't necessarily listen right away. So we came up with a thing for her where she... And this was back when that... Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Those ads were really big. So what she would do is she would walk out to the microphone, and the mic would be too tall for her. So she'd look up at the mic. She'd look at the audience, look up at the mic. She'd walk off stage. She'd walk back on stage with a box. The whole time she hasn't said anything. And side note, if you take the stage and you don't speak, the audience goes quiet because they're like, what's this person going to do? So she leaves the stage, comes back with a box, puts the box down, stands on it. Now she's at the height of the microphone. She says, can you see me now? Totally could wrap the audience around her finger.
Totally works great.
Yeah, plus it's self-effacing, so the audience gets to buy in and love her. So here's a quick clue. A lot of people get nervous speaking to a big crowd. Have you ever heard picture your audience naked? Don't do that. It can be very distracting, especially if there's good-looking people in the room. So what you want to do instead is get that. I had this huge dawning realization about speaking a few months ago. So I was thinking about teaching this to people. And what hit me was this. First, people say, well, you're not just speaking to a crowd, you're speaking to 100 individuals. Let's pretend there's 100 people in the room. So you speak to one individual. But what I got was there's actually one entity with 100 pairs of eyes. And so what I mean by that is whatever emotion I create in, let's suppose a guy named Fred is sitting over here. Whatever emotion that I create in Fred, the whole audience will share that emotion. Whatever emotion I create in Sally, the whole audience shares that emotion. That's why they say one bad apple can spoil the bunch. If I don't know how to handle myself and I don't have a bag of tricks to get out of bad situations, if someone over here is having a hard time, they could ruin the whole audience for me. On the other hand, if I take that person and go from a negative to a positive, I just got the whole audience on my side. So one of the things you do as a speaker is you'll check in with a person and create something great in that person, and the whole audience gets it. I also do a comedy hypnosis show. The way I've used this in hypnosis, if I've got one person on stage who's laughing hysterically, I'll keep bringing attention to that person. Like one time I actually put that person on a stool on the side of the stage, and I said, "You're my official laugh track." And every time I did something funny, I'd point at him. He starts laughing hysterically. The whole audience starts laughing hysterically. If you're leading a personal development seminar and you want people to loosen up and start crying, if you have someone in your audience who's crying, you could look at one of them that's crying and say, "Yeah, I really get how you're feeling." And all the audience will look at that person, see her crying or him crying, and then they start crying, and now you've got the emotions open. And the reason that's so critical is the level, the depth of emotion that you can create in the room will be the depth the programming goes to. So if you keep it flat, not a lot of good programming, you take it deep, great programming. So we can just connect with the audience, talk like you're talking to one person, you establish connection with one member of the crowd, you keep the attention of the whole crowd, you can keep checking in. So like you could find someone great, meet them beforehand, go, "Hey Bob, you're getting this, right?" Later on you check back in, "Bob, is this making sense?" And Bob gets to represent the whole audience.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
Can I keep going?
Yep.
Cool. Mark's, let's talk about some other ones. Overcoming objections. We talked about that earlier, about how I looked really young.
Mm-hmm.
But you get to find out, one of the things of homework that you got to do as a speaker, take your time, and this is pen to paper stuff here, this is homework for you. Write down what people object to. Write down what objections you consistently hear. Is it money? Is it time? Like I hear this one, money. "Oh, I don't have enough money, blah, blah, blah." Well, if you don't have enough money, then you got to find the money. And I would come up with 3 ways that I would address how to find the money during my presentation. Mm-hmm. So what I do is I do the homework. I know why people object. I know what I hear a lot. And I take the time to put pen to paper to come up with ways to overcome that objection during my presentation. And then it's a third-party validation. You know, there's going to be times you speak where you can't hook up video and audio, and there's going to be times you speak when you're just not going to have any graduates in the room to give you a testimonial. What if there was a way you could give your own testimonial? Would that be powerful? What if there's a way you could give your own testimonial, but to the audience it looks like somebody else gave the testimonial? Wouldn't that be awesome? And you can do that through creating characters, through telling stories. You can create third-party validation. Keep rolling.
Could you give an example, or when you get, or will you cover that a little bit later? Because I know
a little bit later. Let me do that when I talk about
okay.
When I talk about characters.
Okay, good.
You can say what you've always wanted to say without getting in trouble, which is nice. Comedy gives the appearance of being in charge. This is really great as you step up your game and you're hanging out with higher caliber people, higher money people. If you can be funny, and I don't mean goofy, but I mean humorous, you can bond with anybody. Everybody loves to laugh. It really hit me looking at comedians. People will pay hundreds of dollars to go, you know, ticket prices here in Vegas can be $100 and up. People pay $100 to go listen to a comedian, so it hit me. If they'll pay $100 to go see a comedian, if I can be funny for free, I have a much better chance of making the sale. I have a much better chance of getting on stage and keeping their attention. If I can deliver for free what they would have paid for, I set myself apart. Make sense?
Yep, awesome.
So overcoming objections. I was teaching this content in a seminar, and Mark Sumter came to this seminar. We talked about overcoming first objections, like whatever could be the audience's mind, you've got to address it. Well, write this down. It's not the big that eat the small, it's the fast that eat the slow. In today's economy, the fast business eats the slow. Did you say something?
The fast that eats the slow.
It's the fast that eats the slow, meaning when you have an opportunity, you need to grab it or it's gone. Your competition will grab it. You know, if you're not the one who's learning to be excellent, your competition is. If you're not the one who says yes to the opportunity to get on stage, your competition is. So Mark learned this, and Mark's in his office. His assistant's out sick, so he's all disheveled one morning, and he gets a call, and the guy says, I got this house to deed to you. And Mark says, okay, you know, I'll check it out. And the guy says, I hope this works out, because if this works out, I have 29 more to give you. Mark says, I'll be right over. So Mark knows fast eat the slow. He goes right over that morning, and but he looks real disheveled. He wasn't expecting to meet with clients yet. It was real early. His hair's all messy. And Mark's kind of a big guy, and he could be imposing. So he knew he's going to lose the deal if he didn't address this first-second objection. So he says to the guy, he says, I know I don't look what you'd expect, and I know I look a little disheveled right now, but I believe being fast in this business is important, and I believe coming to take advantage of opportunities right away is important, and that's the kind of attitude it takes to get real estate sold quickly. The guy says, got it, you can have all 30 deals. So Mark landed all 30 deals just from using this one technique. And from using these tools of persuasion that we're teaching, in the next 60 days, he got 70 deals total.
Awesome. Wow.
Yeah, right? Really cool. So let's keep rolling with this. So persona, this is critical. This is the one thing that you could do to mess up your sales, to mess up your speaking. A lot of speakers think if they're going to be funny, they have to put on some character and be something other than themselves. So let's pretend here's a timeline. This is the first moment you hit stage. Here's when you leave stage. If you come out in character and you're not yourself, and then you go into being yourself, the audience doesn't know who is you. The audience doesn't know which person's the real you. On the other hand, if you come out being you, and then you go into a character, then you can return to you, and the audience knows who you are. So it's critical for you to write these words down: authentic, real, and you. You got to put the time in to know who and what that is.
Let me ask you this, Jase. I'm doing my best not to go way too long in this presentation. Yet, would you say that your speaker's a little high? If you can lower that there real quick, because I'm getting an echo.
Oh, so, okay, sorry.
Not a challenge. So, would you say that even who you are is a character of who you are? Like when you play your persona, you got to know who you are, so who to be on stage.
Oh, I would not say it's a character who you are. What I'd say is you've got to practice being in your persona. You guys, sometimes you get on stage and there's 300 people in the room, 500 people in the room, or you've got a really big opportunity. It can be tempting to be inauthentic or to be someone you're not. And what I maintain is this is the number one. Should I share this secret, AJ? This is the number one key to being great on stage. I'm gonna whisper. You guys ready? Be authentic. Be authentic. The best way to be great on stage is to be real. Be you. Don't embellish stories. Don't lie. Don't put on a fake you. Be real. All my stories are true as far as I know. That's one of my humor points. I always say that one. But just be you. Be real. I believe when you learn how to bring out your true authentic self, it's way more dynamic, lovely, and attractive than putting on an imitation of someone else. I think the real key to speaking and being great is to be you. With all your greatness and all your goofiness, you let that hang out. That's what opens the space for the audience to fall in love with you. So you've got to be in your persona. You've got to be real. What you do is you set the tone for your presentation right away, and then you go into character. So I think, AJ, to answer your question, the point is you've got to practice being you. As weird as that sounds, you've got to practice being you on stage. Can you say something?
No, that's very good.
Okay. So just as your attitude in daily life, you've got different emotional states. Just as your attitude changes, your character's attitude will change, and your attitude on stage will change. So I want to tell you about a financial planner I worked with. This guy had a company that would bring in people for luncheons, and he would speak from stage, and he would book one-on-one follow-up appointments where they put money with him. Before we met, he closed like 1 out of 51 people. One of the things he was doing really wrong is he wasn't being himself. He thought to be a speaker, he had to be a speaker. And also, he's working in financial services, and this guy's really attuned to. He didn't want to work with people who wanted to make big growth. This guy had lost half of his nest egg when he had sold this company. He started the company, made a lot of money, grew this big company, sold the company, put this huge pile of cash with a Wall Street banker, and he lost half of it overnight when 9/11 hit. So he became very risk averse, and his passion is to work with people that are risk averse. So he didn't know how to say that on stage. He didn't know how to communicate it. So one of the things we came up with was for him to just be really straight with the crowd and say to them, listen, if you're looking for the next Facebook, if you're looking for the next Microsoft, if you're looking for that rapid growth, I'm not for you. But if you're looking to keep your money safe, if you're looking for peace of mind no matter what happens in the market, if you're looking for someone who cares about your money, is going to keep it safe, I'm the guy for you. Maybe we should talk. So he learned to be authentic with people. He learned to be real. Are you feeling that when I say it? The other thing was he actually likes people. And I'll never forget when I was coaching and we had this meeting one day and I was talking about just tell him you like him. Tell him you want to have a relationship. And he goes, you mean I can say that? It was so funny. So this guy actually loves people. So one of the things that he's going to do as his branding is he's going to take every single one of his clients to dinner. I mean, could you imagine a financial planner that after you put all your money with him, he still wants to get to know you? Most of them, you never hear from him again once you sign the contracts. He's going to, we came up with breaking bread. He's going to break bread with every single client. I mean, what would you think about a financial planner who did that for you? It would really set that guy apart and make him remarkable. Write that word down, remarkable. You have to be remarkable in today's economy so that people will talk about you. Instead of putting all your money into advertising, put your money into being more dynamic so that when people work with you, they have more reason to tell more people about you.
So one of the things that I'm getting from you is, when it comes to being humorous or entertaining, the whole point of being humorous and entertaining is to connect deeper with the people. When you can connect with them, then it's easier to have fun with them. So it does make you more entertaining and funny. And yet the real point is to connect. And once you you're giving us even more than that. Everything from our mindset to the way we take stage, creating the environment, how to just be with the people, and then expand upon that by now we have permission to have fun with the people and be humorous.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's an experiential economy, and what will set you apart is the experience you deliver. Starbucks coffee isn't that much better than other places, but the experience is better, and that's why they can charge more, and they have so many raving loyal fans. But yeah, right on. So characters. Now, we said we talk about characters. You'll enter a character for different jokes or stories. That says joke, but remember when I say joke, you think humor point. So characters do the talking, and through them, you can use your characters to overcome objections. You can say what you've always wanted. A character can say what you shouldn't. And a character can say what the audience is thinking. So I want to tell a quick story. I'm going to model this real quick, how I use a character of my mom to overcome the objection of not buying seminar. Now remember, you've got to tell true story. You can't be making stuff up. What you can do, though, if you don't have great stories of your own, do research and find people who are in similar industry as you, and you can say, I heard this story, or this happened to a friend of mine, and then tell the story. But don't just make up false stories.
One of the things, before you get into that, just to put it into the right context, you want to tell a true story. However, what you talk about is how you craft, is how you tell the story that makes it entertaining. Because I have some people say, well, nothing interesting happens to me, and then that happened, but that's not an interesting story. It's like, what's the way you're telling it? And so I'm not telling you to say a lie and tell a different story. It's just that how you tell it, and that's one of the things that you teach.
Yep, and you guys, we got to take care of the subconscious communication. If I'm really boring, right, and I'm selling a product, the subconscious link is that if I'm boring and you buy my product, you'll be boring.
Wow.
Who wants to be boring? On the other hand, if I'm dynamic and exciting and I have this killer life where I travel the world and I hang out with all these top flight people, the kind of people you want to hang out with, and I have fun, and AJ's one of my best friends, and I have this dynamic life, if you buy my product or service, the subconscious link is your life will be dynamic and awesome because you bought my product or service. So as a speaker, when you're selling remember, one-on-one or one-to-many speaking, when you're selling your product or service, the life you have will be subconsciously linked to the product you sell. So you got to be having a very interesting, remarkable life so people want a part of it, and they get it by buying your product or service.
That's really awesome. In fact, I want to write that down. Hey, Jase, can you hand me one of those pens?
Would you like green or green?
The first one.
The first one? Yeah, AJ, here you go.
Okay, Goofy. Just thought I'd have fun with that.
If you don't like fun, don't come to the funny farm. If you like fun, you're my kind of guy or gal. So let me tell this story about how I overcome objections. So I want you to know, I remember I talked about overcoming first objections. I knew people have a big objection when they go to seminars. What do they say? What does their spouse say so many times? Don't buy anything, or freeze your credit card in a block of ice, or whatever they might say. So I knew, speaking, I needed to overcome that objection. So I crafted this story. Now, it's a true story, but I tell it intentionally during my speaking in order to overcome that objection. Does that make sense, AJ?
Yeah, and just to put it in the right framework for the audience, when he says, don't let him sell you anything, that's him going into character. That's what he means by characters to overcome objections. So, cool. Yeah, please share with us.
Purpose. So I'm going to overcome a couple objections. One is buying a seminar, period. And then the other is some people think they've bought too many seminars, so I need to overcome that objection too. And then I'm going to implant the benefit that comes from buying a bunch of seminars. So I'm going to do all three of those in this story. Okay, ready? And scene. Okay, so I hit the stage, I'll tell this story. So I'm sitting in a room just like you guys are right now, and I'm watching this speaker. And I used to be in this real estate investing club, and all these guys are doing deal of the month and making $30,000-$40,000 and I'm in the back, and I'm starving practically. I told you I made $2,000 in 6 months. And these people would also talk about these seminars they went to where they paid $3,000 and $4,000, and I'm like, losers! But wait a second, I'm the guy sitting in the back of the room who barely has 2 dimes to rub together. Who's the real? So I'm at this seminar, and I'm sitting with my mom. I was getting my mom into real estate investing, and the speaker's talking. I'm like, this guy's talking to me. Have you ever had that experience where, like, the speaker's talking to you, and you're like, I gotta buy this guy's stuff? And I was like, first time I was ever thinking about spending more than like $100 for a seminar, and this seminar was over $1,000, and $1,000 at that time was a lot of money for me. And I go to buy the guy's thing, and I start to stand up, and my mom literally grabs my jacket, and she pulls me back down, and she says, "You're not going to buy it, are you?" And have you ever had this experience? Have you ever had a time in your life when you knew exactly what you needed to do? And maybe it was something out of the box. Maybe it was something like not normal. But you knew what you needed to do, and the people in your life said, "You're not going to buy it, are you?" They weren't trying to be mean, but they were trying to protect you and keep you safe. We call it crabbing. They try to pull you back down into a comfort zone to keep you safe. But that pulling you back down is the exact thing you don't need. And so I don't know where it came from, but I thank God. I looked at my mom and said, "Mom, I have got to go." And I went to the back and I bought that guy's seminar. And it was like I got my dreams back. It was amazing. And I discovered personal development. I discovered how to change my subconscious and my language and my communication. And so I started going to all the seminars. I went to seminars on business etiquette. I went to seminars on sales. I went to seminars on productivity. I went to every seminar I could. 3 out of 4 weekends I was in a seminar. And I'm spent a lot of money and investing a lot of time. Interestingly, I started making a lot more money. But during this time, my mom started communicating with a guy who had been a mentor of mine before I got into seminars, an older gentleman. And they talked, and my mom calls me up, and she says, "Jase, I talked with your mentor, and we think that you've been going to enough seminars. Don't you think you've been going to enough seminars?" And I was on the exact path I needed to be on, and my mom was trying to stop me. Does that ever happen to you guys? Does that ever happen to you where you're on the right path, and the people in your life are trying to stop you? Well, thank God I just kept going, so you keep going. And I said, "Mom, I know I got to keep going. I'm going to keep doing this path." And so through going to all these seminars, eventually I launched Life Tigers, my own seminar company. I owned a piece of property. My mom got to live in it for free. I started giving my mom cash every month, just spending money, and I took my mom on her first-class vacation. We went to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico.
Awesome.
And my mom started asking me a new question. She started saying, "Jase, when's your next seminar?" So that's my story for that. And scene. So that's my story for that one. So what I'm doing in that is I'm capping it with my mom says, "Hey, Jase, when's your next seminar?" and planting that now she wants me to go to more and more seminars.
Very cool.
Is this all making sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so the cool thing that happens when I'm telling that story about my mom, it's not about me. I'm not saying go to seminars. I'm sharing the experience of what happened with my mom.
Mm-hmm. Very cool.
Keep rolling?
Yes.
So some tips for characters. You know, if you think you're going to get on stage and make these up, it's hard. You got to write this, exaggerate their mannerisms. What phrases did they use? My mom's was, "You're not going to another seminar. You're not going to buy that, are you?" What's their point of view? What are they passionate about? Describe your character as an inanimate object and act it out. So you got to put some time and energy into this. You got to put some thought, some pen to paper time to actually get these together. So the Ron LeGrand story. Do I have time for another story?
Yes. Yeah. This was really good, though.
Okay. So this is kind of my like keynote type story. This is one that if I only have a chance to speak for 5 minutes, I'll tell this story. If I've got a chance for an hour, I'll tell this story. When you are speaking and you're getting near your close, or you really want to impact the audience, you've got to have that one oomph emotional story. And so for me, this is it. The way I use this story is to get the audience to realize they have to take action today. They have to say yes. They have to do what they can. I believe, and this is my personal philosophy, nobody gets a better life by saying no. Now, they may say no to the bad things and the negative things in their life, but I mean they don't get it by saying no to opportunity. The only way you get ahead is when you have an opportunity that's presented that looks great, you say yes, and then you figure out how to capitalize on it. Quite often, when we're selling in a seminar room, people might not know how to pay for our product or service, but they learn how to pay for it by committing to pay for it. AJ, you've seen that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what I'm doing is, in other words, fear comes up. I want to give people a tool to get through fear. And here's the ultimate as a speaker. Whether they buy or not, you give them tools they can use the rest of their life. I believe it's really hard to change their life in an hour of a preview speaking, but there's always a glimmer of hope. You'll give them something that will help them to the next step, which will help them to the next step, which will help them to the next step, so that they can get the life they want. So that's how I use this Ron LeGrand story. So earlier in my presentation, before I start this story, I talk about the power of saying yes. And I say the answer to how is yes. When you don't think you can, as Anthony Robbins says, when you don't think you can, you must. And that begins with a yes. So what you have to do is say yes, and then do what comes next. Yes, and take a step. So I'll be teaching that, and then I'll pick up the story here. Anything before I start the story? So this is a written and practice story. So I'll start the story. So I just spoke in Orlando, and I was waiting for my big break as a speaker. I was working for a guy in seminars, and wanting to be a speaker is kind of like a garage band. You speak anywhere you can, and the answer is always
yes.
Yes. So I knew I had to say yes. Let me write it. Yes. So I knew the answer to how is yes. The answer to my fear is
yes.
Yes. I must say yes. So by now, I'm getting the crowd. I'm going to step out for a second. I get the crowd to say yes with me every time I say it. The more they say yes, the more likely they are to be a yes. So I'll say the answer to how is,
yes.
And then the whole crowd says yes. Okay, back in the story. So I just spoke in Orlando, Florida. One of the first times I ever spoke, but it was a very warm crowd. I used to live in Orlando. I knew almost everybody in the audience. My mom was there. I did Big Brothers Big Sisters. He was there. Very warm crowd. I knew everybody. And so I flew back this morning from Orlando to Vegas, and I'm having lunch with my guy I worked for. And so I just flew cross country. I'm a little wiped out. I spoke the night before, and he goes, you did pretty good last night. Let's put you on a real stage. I'm supposed to speak tonight. There's 300 people in the room. They each paid $5,000 to be there. Let's put you on stage tonight. See how you do. So what do I say?
Yes.
Usually the crowd goes, yes. And I go, well, sometimes that yes comes out like a yes. Because I had to say what? Yes, or else my dream dies right there. So, and he's talking about speaking like 4 hours from then. And I just flew cross country. I'm not ready. I'm not prepared. I'm not ready for this. But you're never ready. When your big opportunity comes along, you're never like ready. You just can be as prepared as you can be, and then you say yes, and you go from there. The readiness has to be in your heart. So I show up that night, and this guy named Ron the Grand is the promoter. And Ron's kind of this big, gruff guy. And I'm a big believer in language patterns. So I believe that when we're going to create something, we don't use the word hope. We say, I know this is how it's going to go. But my language patterns were fried. I was so nervous. So I introduced myself to Ron. I said, Ron, it's really a pleasure to be here. I'm Jase. I hope this goes well tonight. I'll do the best I can. And hopefully this opens the door for us to work together in the future. And Ron says, well, glad you're here, Jase. There's 300 people in the room. They each paid $5,000 to be here. Your boss was the headliner, and they were all expecting him. They're kind of disappointed he's not here. There could be some resistance in the room. Good luck. Thank you, Ron.
Words of encouragement.
How would you guys have felt in that moment? How do you think I felt in that moment? And see, these are the moments you're going to have as you go to get the life you want. You know where you need to be, and this resistance is going to come up. The quick trick to know if you're on the right path or not, massive, massive fear. When you think there's no way I can, you must. I was freaking out. I mean, I'd never spoken in front of 300 people before. I just flew cross country. Ron the Grand's telling me there could be resistance in the room, and I'd been to a bunch of Ron seminars as a student, so I'm nervous. So Chuck Barnes is the speaker coach who just taught me about breathing exercises. So I'm like, I'll go in the bathroom and do my deep breathing exercises. So I go in the bathroom in the end stall. You know, they have like a big stall at the end. And I'm trying to do but it comes out like, I'm so nervous. And this guy comes in the bathroom and he goes, hey, Dave, is Dave here? And I'm thinking of that old joke. I'm like, Dave's not here. And the guy says, and this is a true story. The guy says, I hear the headliner's not here tonight. And I go, I heard that. What do you think about it? And the guy says, I think it sucks. I like doing this with the camera. So, how would you have felt if you were in my position? I was freaking out. What would you have felt in that moment? What would you have done? Believe me, every fiber in my body, except for a few, was like, let's get out of here. Let's just go home. Let's wait until we're ready. No one would blame me. No one would have gotten mad at me. I could have said I hurt my stomach was killing, my ankle was bad, whatever. I could have found a million ways to back out, and no one would have blamed me. Except these are the moments of decision. Your destiny isn't made when everything is great. Your destiny will be formed in those moments of decision where you go one way and you back out on your dreams. You take that door, you make the excuse, you take the exit, you go the chicken exit, or you go the other way and you say yes. You say yes when you don't have a clue how. You say yes when you know that that's what's in your heart. You say yes and you face that massive fear, not having any clue how it's going to turn out. So I said yes, and I got on stage that night. I said, I'm doing what it takes, no matter what it takes. And I got on stage. And because I knew how to be funny, and because I knew how to deliver, I actually told the story to the audience of what happened in the bathroom. So I'm telling 300 people how this guy says, I think it sucks the headliner's not here. And I'm the guy in the bathroom he's saying it to. So the audience lost it. They're like laughing hysterically at the situation. And I went from an audience that could be hostile to totally on my side. Because now I'm this underdog guy who's facing his fear in the bathroom, freaking out. So because I knew how to be authentic and real and I could share this on stage, the audience they fell in love with me and I fell in love with them. And that night I did my hypnosis show. And the next morning, I spoke and sold a seminar. And in an hour and a half, I did roughly $96,000 in sales. And
How much?
it was really, really good numbers, especially first time out on a big stage.
How much was
And
that, Jase?
about 96,000 in sales.
Awesome.
I didn't get all that money, and it was still pretty good, right?
Oh, well,
So
you didn't get all that money because you were speaking for someone else.
exactly.
But if you were speaking for yourself,
me speaking,
that would have been yours.
half of it, I would have made about 48,000
Okay, cool. Very
on
good.
that payday. I think I made $5,000. I think I made like 5%. Which really, how many people here would object to making $5,000 for one night of work and one day of speaking for an hour and a half? I'm happy with that. So, I'm finishing up, and here's how I cap this story. And before I go on, let me touch a couple things I did. When I told the story and I'm talking about being in the bathroom, notice I didn't just say, I'm freaking out. I said, how would you have felt in that moment? What I'm doing is giving you as my audience, as you as that person watching this video cam, and if you were live watching, I'm giving you a chance to share in my experience. And when you share in my experience, you'll have those feelings well up in your body. And I'm actually giving you a life lesson that will hopefully stick with you forever. And that I know if you let yourself live by this, it will. And that's a life lesson of saying yes and taking a step, saying yes and doing what you can, saying yes and moving forward. And by telling the story that way, I actually paid a speaker coach $20,000 to help me come up with a presentation and to learn to tell that story that way. Because when I do that, and then I say you've got to say yes and take a step, then the people in the audience get that's really how your life changes. And I believe that because I've had time in my life I said no, nothing happens. Time to say yes, and I really get the life I want.
That's awesome. AJ? Yeah, everything that you did in that one story, I mean, it did so many points. So one, it's entertaining. So it keeps me engaged, keeps my attention. You were building rapport at the same time, and more importantly, I think this is really the example I really want people to get is that you were selling. How many of you got that he was selling to the audience as he's sharing the story? Because there's a lot of times where he breaks character. And he tells them, look, you can go this way or you can go this way. And he's talking about the experience that they're in while they're sitting in the chair and listening to the story. And so you're entertaining, you're selling, you're teaching, and you're building rapport all at the same time in a well-crafted story. And that's what you teach and help people do, work with them to do. So that's pretty awesome. Hey, everybody, just a quick note, and forgive me for this. Make sure you got your pen and paper ready to take a lot of notes because, unfortunately, we're kind of coming close on time here, and so we're going to kind of speed up through some of the content because we want to make sure that you get all those as well, and we want to share as many examples at the same time. So
I still have people come up to me that talk about that story years later, and I share that. So here's how I cap that story, because you want to cap it with a bang, you want to cap it with a laugh, kind of like at the end of most TV shows, they have that extra minute where they put something funny in. You want to cap it on an up. So here's how I finish it. So after I finished selling, I did that 96 grand, I'm talking to these three students, and Ron steps between me and the three students. He goes, "You need to speak with my assistant, Pam." I said, "Ron, I hope this opens the door for us to work together in the future." By the way, you notice how when I'm speaking, I'm looking up at Ron. When I'm Ron, I bow up. That's part of playing characters. You got to physically act them out. So I said, "Ron, I hope this opens the door for us to work together." Ron looks at me and he goes, "You're in. You don't know how far you're in." I said, "Can I have a hug?" Spark shot out of Ron's head. And he goes, "Okay."
Anybody who knows Ron, anyone who knows Ron, that's like a interesting question to ask him. Can I have a hug?
Oh, yeah. That like slays him when I'm in a crowd that knows Ron, because Ron is not touchy-feely. So, and then here's the cap on the whole thing that just ties the bow on it, makes it boop, pretty. So everything's done. I finished selling people, and I'm just kind of sitting there, and I'm just like, I'm taking it in, and I just stepped into my destiny. And because I spoke well on that stage, it opened up the door for me to speak on all of Ron's Millionaire Maker boot camps, and that's what really launched my career. And I'm just kind of taking it in, and I'm thinking about where would I have been if I hadn't said yes. Sorry, I get emotional still thinking about it, but I should apologize. But the guy who said no, where is that guy? And just so appreciative that I said yes. And I'm just kind of standing there, I'm taking all that stuff in. And this guy walks up to me and he's got the bag of products in his hands. And he walks up and he goes, "Hey, I'm Dave." He was the guy was looking for in the bathroom. I still see Dave at seminars 8 years later. 8 years later. And I still have never met the guy who was looking for Dave in the bathroom. If you're watching this video, thanks for the story. So that's how I wrap it up. I put the bow on it, and I implant going for it. So I'm going to start going through some stuff quick, okay?
Yes.
Some people might think, where do I have a great story like that? Believe me, you are funny. Your family's funny. Your friends are funny. And for all of these, your childhood, parents, children, spouses, hobbies, pets, clothing, career, those are all funny. Those all have humor written into them. So you can write about what's sad, what's weird, what's dubious, annoying, or amazing about them. And then creating humor for a sale. This might sound strange, but this fits. What you got to do is share the worst time in your life. When you can share the worst time in your life and laugh at it, a couple things happen. One is it quits being a negative for you, because when you're laughing at it, your problem's not your problem. Your attitude about your problem is your problem. So if you have a good attitude, you can laugh at it. It quits being a problem. And you do something miraculous for the people in the audience. The people in the audience who share your problem, when you can laugh at the problems you had, you give them a glimmer of hope. You guys, humor is such a gift. You can change a life forever. You never know when you make someone laugh what will happen when they go home and they connect with their kid in a way they haven't before, or their wife in a way they haven't before, because you got them to open up, laugh. The woman who was thinking about just like checking out, get her to laugh. Maybe she checks back in and she gets how valuable she is. So you talk about when you hurt the most, when you were the most discouraged, what gave you access to change. And then you start to segue people from this big negative you had to what gave you access to change, to how great life is now. And people want to take this journey with you. They buy your product or service. Who and what were you when you didn't have it? The worse it gets, the better your humor. The worse it gets, the better your humor.
So this is a place where all of you should be writing just like tons of notes as fast as you can, because this is where you want to find those stories.
You know, and what's great is when you can do this in a group with funny people who know how to keep the context of the room. They know how to keep positive energy, even though you're dealing with this junk. What'll happen is you'll take some stuff that used to be this big negative, and you'll turn it into really, really funny stories. So it's great. And then, so another thing we do at the Funny Farm, it's not enough to just learn the story. You've got to learn how to tell it. So you need to learn how to write, how to have delivery. The writing process. Throw tons at the wall, see what sticks. Write in metal pictures. Always keep a journal or recorder. Always, always, always. If you think of something funny, you don't write it, you will lose it. You must write things down.
So as you say, you have that bag of tricks and put all the, you said have a bag of tricks. You hear something funny, put it in the bag. Otherwise, it's not there for you to use later, right?
Yeah, AJ and I used to live in Vegas together. We'd go to these comedy shows.
We didn't live together. We were both in Vegas. Huh? We didn't live together, but we were both in Vegas.
No, we didn't live together. We lived in Vegas at the same time. Actually, that's a funny one. That's a good one to use later. So we lived in Vegas at the same time, and we'd go to comedy shows together. And AJ laughs at me now because I would always have my phone, and I'd be taking notes in my phone so I could think, because it would trigger me to think of something in my life I could tell a story about. So always have a recorder. Delivery. Deliver like Santa. What the heck do I mean by that? When Santa Claus delivers presents, does he stick around and look in the window to see if the kids like the presents, or is he gone to the next house? He's moved on. What ineffective speakers do is they wait and see if you think they're funny. Did they laugh? Did they laugh? And it just screws it up, and it makes the speaker seem needy. Humor is a gift. They can accept it, decline it, and if you're speaking to enough people, a lot of them will miss it. So what you want to do is deliver and move on to the next one. Avoid wanting to laugh, remain unattached to the outcome. This is critical. You got to avoid wanting to laugh, remain unattached. So your body language, you got to smile, relax. You got to watch your body language. Like, you notice when AJ and I are funny, we don't go like this, because it looks like, when I go back, it looks like I'm anticipating negative. What we do is we lean in. You want to lean into the humor. And when you're delivering something emotionally deep, you notice I'll come in like this. and I'll really connect. I'll make sure I'm looking at the camera and I'll really connect deeper. You want to lean in on the emotional moments and then be physically big with your characters. So I told you about Eric, the financial planner that I worked with. By him learning to be authentic, learning to tell stories, how to be funny, he went from 1 out of 51 to after the first time he spoke after I worked with him, he closed 21 out of 81 people.
Awesome.
And then I don't remember how many people in the room, but he moved up to 75% of the room. And then just recently he spoke, he closed 100% of the room. And he did that because he learned how to be authentic, he learned how to tell stories, he learned how to emote, he learned what he stood for, his real persona, learned how to create characters, overcome objections. He learned how to be funny. So
you've taught these ideas and concepts, to, the everyday salesperson with, no matter what their business, and you've worked with specifically some pretty amazing speakers. I know that you've been, it led you to being in the movie. It leads you to, multiple stages. It's led you to be in front of television and the media and work with some amazing speakers like Greg Reed, Les Brown, Michael Beckwith. That's pretty awesome there, and which is kind of like your cue that I'm moving on to your next slide there.
Oh, that was my cue. I was just thinking of someone I got to meet recently. I was in LA and I was hanging out with Les Brown for a week, and I was driving around, and in one day I got to go with Les, and we were talking about doing some business together, and so we went and he did an interview with the Reverend Michael Beckwith, so I got to know Michael Beckwith, and then I think there might even be a picture of that.
Yeah.
And then the next day we went and interviewed Bill Cosby, so I got to meet one of my heroes, Bill Cosby.
Oh, awesome.
And Les himself is amazing. So when you put in the time and energy to do this, it's amazing. And you might not recognize some of these people. David Corbin's in here. David was business partners with Brian Tracy. He's one of my mentors. Greg Reed, who wrote 3 Feet in Gold. The people get to hang out with is worth every bit of it.
Very cool. So, no matter what kind of success you're looking for, whether it is, speaking career success, fame with the media, or just to get better at sales, it can really lead you to that ideal life you're looking for. So whether it means providing an education for your children that you want, retirement or more time with your family, maybe the finer things in life, homes, cars, vacations, those sort of things.